Another one. All right, we're talking about birds. What a gray heron, I don't know, heron, I think is what it was. This was in the Smoky Mountains. It was just sitting, I just came around the corner and there he was. He just sat there on the rock for me, so I photographed him. Did not paint this plein air. He wouldn't stay that long. But when you draw with your pencil ahead of time, saving the white, and you paint, all I did was put in the paint behind it so that he was silhouetted in white. Let that dry.
Wait a minute, he was silhouetted in white?
He was all white.
Okay.
This is dry paper. But I laid in the green and then blurred it out a little bit like we did last time. That kept him dry. I let all of that dry, the background around him, while I came down here and worked on the rocks and the water. When this was dry, then I came back and added some shadows on him. So it didn't really take too long. It's just when one part of the painting is wet, you got to go work in a different part.
You did all of that outside?
No.
Oh.
This was from a photograph.
Okay.
Because photograph, they move.
Yeah.
So. And trees can just be blurbs of color. See, like this doesn't even show much of anything in a tree. And then these trees are more structured, but the darker is just kind of in the shapes of the top. It's not anything real specific. So I'm going to show you some of these, so when you look at the video, you can just pause it and say, well, I want to try that one, or I want to try that sky. That was that was at no, that's at Springer Mountain. Is that in focus?
Yes, now it is.
Okay. Here's the sky.
I love that sky.
You do the watercolor sky and let it dry, and then you come back with the trees. You can use black. I think I used black because I wanted it dark, or you can use a pen. And then I use the white gel pen to show the lights of Dahlonega down below. But the down here was dark enough that the white pen showed up. Okay, this is what we're going to do next. Okay, so before we even do it on this, get a scrap sheet of paper and let's practice palm trees. So pull out some scrap sheet of paper or something that you can turn, if you don't like something you did, you can always turn it over on the back. You never know. Okay, but I'm gonna turn it this way and do it a little bigger just so that you can see my strokes. And I'm not worried. This has multiple colors of browns and greens in it, kind of a mixture.
That's what makes it so pretty.
So, but that's what I love about it. But but I'm not going to worry about that right now. We're just going to practice the shape. And palm trees are different shapes.
Wow.
So I'm just going with the one I'm looking at. Okay. So, and I'll do another generic one to me that I taught my kids in elementary. I'm just going to go with black because it's easy to see. So if y'all just look up here for a second, I'm going to show you my easy one first, and then I'll flip it over and do or move it over. The easy one is I'm going to create a skeleton. This is where my palm tree trunk, and then it's like a spider where I'm barely touching the paper, and that's the framework. And then I'm going to come back on my trunk and I'm going to do little strokes kind of up and down to create some palm trees get fatter as they go down. Some palm trees are really smooth in parts. You just have to look and see whatever kind. Now when you do this, however, do you see, if you don't do it fast enough, you're going to see this line? Hi, Sheldon.
Yeah.
So you want to work fast. And then you want to, like a flick of the wrist, I'm going to follow each of these lines and just do a brush stroke, down and away, out and away. Now I'm coming down this one. They're really close together. And I'm going to go out this one. It's going to point out.
She makes it look so
She does.
easy.
I can hold your hand and do this with you. I did that with my
Please.
students. I did. I mean, but it's a stroke out and away, and you want to when you flick your wrist, you want to lift up as you go, so it's just that tiny bit of the brush creates the very point. So that's a practice, and you're going to figure out: is it easier for me to flip away, or is it easier for me to pull toward? Because if it's easier for you to pull toward, then you're going to be moving your painting around and changing the direction of your painting because it's easier on you. So that's what I want you to think about when you hi Sheldon, when you paint, is this comfortable? For example, I'm right-handed, so I have this natural bend in my wrist to create a bend like this. My left hand goes the other direction. But if I want to create a bend that way, it's awkward.
Turn your paper around.
Yeah, turn your paper around. So whatever works for you. Now, this one, when you see this is a palm tree that's more straight up. And so if I don't want to accidentally see my skeletal lines, I'm going to try to just create the fullness as I paint. So as I get to this full part right here, I get a little fatter, I get back a little skinnier, then I get a little, see the point of my brush is pointing up, pointing out, away. I'm bringing it toward the center. And then it gets a little skinny again, and maybe a little fatter, and then I can either turn my brush sideways and just finish off however tall I want it. Now this part comes up a little higher, and then I have these little skinny, you don't want this part really fat, but everything is from the center. So if you remember everything is from the center, then like I often had students who would do here, from here, from here, from here, and they would have gaps like this and then try to make it look like a palm tree. So you want most of these points coming in to a certain point. And palm trees, when you're looking at it in nature, there's always going to be some branches coming straight out at you. So don't forget those as well. So there's going to be some coming down. So same way with the brush is I'm going to skip some of this interior part because of the hollowness I see in here. You see some of those branches, so I'm going to start the fronds a little. See, my brush is a little too dry. So, but again, it doesn't matter. Now this is a little darker because I just loaded my brush again. But the branches are hanging down more. So because they're hanging down, you want the fronds. And it's okay to let some overlap because they do. One in the back is going to be going down this way, and you might see part of it up underneath. And part with this one in the back might be going up. I need to change glasses too. Because I'm working up real close. I need my other glasses on. But see how I just turn it around. I lift it up.
If you don't have the element of color, like you're doing that just in black or whatever you're dipping in up there, maybe it would be a little easier.
That's beautiful.
Well, the thing is, you're not worried. This allows you to practice the shape.
Yeah.
This allows you to practice the stroke. No stress on getting everything right. So it's a great. You could do your journal in monochromatic. You could have just black or just blue or just anything, and as long as it's a darker color. You couldn't do much with yellow because you wouldn't have much. But I could do a scene well, we'll just pretend. I could do a scene in all blue, so I could create a sky. I'm not gonna do it very dark here. Here's your water line. That's a little blurred. Gotta let it dry really quick. Probably not gonna be dry enough. But this part in here would be where, and like this, my palm tree went off the page because I was so close to it, you didn't see the beginning of it. So again, I'm going to look for where the shading is, and I'm just going to pick up the blue. So if I was doing everything in blue, you can do just it helps you work with lights and darks. Some of the first paintings I did were monochromatic, and that allows you to see the values and not be so hung up on your color mixing and all of that.
Yeah, I'm thinking if you don't have to do all of that at once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would. Yeah, work just in one color. Now that sky is too wet to really. But you see what I'm saying? How I can create a neat little image, and I don't even mind if some of these pond fronds are blurred out, because the wind might be blowing, and it probably is if you're on the coast. But you see how I still have the feeling of a palm tree?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so whether you do black, blue, whatever color, practice those strokes. Decide if it's easier for you to stroke out. That sounds bad. Stroke away from yourself. You barely touch the paper, and pull away from yourself, or bring it toward yourself, and lifting up and just kind of flicking the wrist to give it just a little hint of airiness and feathering. All right, so.
And you have the other one too.
That one.
Yeah.
And you could have a straight trunk on that. I mean, it doesn't have to be that ridgy thing. I mean, there's so many. What I used to think, oh no, the palm trees don't have a smooth trunk. Well, some of them do, some of them don't. So.
Then you've got light and dark browns.
your
That's
brushes.
lesson
Ooh.
2.
I think I got that crappy
Messed up.
brush that
What happened?
I think that's my crappy one that I brought today, and not the good one
Oh,
I brought
yeah,
from
I have a
last
point.
week. See, I'm gonna use this one.
Yeah.
Try your other one. If
Yeah.
not, borrow one from me while you're here, because
Yeah.
that one you don't want to
See,
paint.
it's-
No, you
Yeah.
can't. If you can't control.
No.
And you can have the palm fronds touch each other at the base and then flare out.
Mm-hmm.
What is the part of, what kind of
Yeah.
lesson is this? That will work.
Oh, I don't know. We got distracted.
I'm sorry, I asked about palm trees. It's my bad.
Because
It could be a landscape.
Well,
Well, see,
Sorry, I'm not allowed to answer.
okay, this could be the part where the things that are up close are darker, and the things that are farther off are less intense. Because we were going to paint this scene, and then I wanted you to practice the stroke of the palm tree before we actually did the scene.
Well, I appreciate that, because, yeah, for me, without any experience in watercolor, it's a lot.
Yeah, and you can get just scrap paper, even index cards, where you don't care anything about it, and just practice controlling your stroke, trying to lift up, create tiny lines, that was kind of like the first day when I said you can get as tiny, if you can control how you barely touch the paper, you can control how tiny your lines are. And a lot of it is how wet your brush is. Some brushes flow more water through than others, and you're just going to have to learn your brush. But I would also recommend that you try different types of brushes. I like Pentel, but you might like something else better. And, you know, there's, it's so much of it, of art is a personal preference. And you might like a type of paper better than I do, and that that doesn't mean that you're wrong.
What I found helpful, because I was doing those little wisps on
Uh-huh.
this pine, before I did them there, I had a little card to my side.
To
that I
practice.
Practice before I did
Good.
here.
Yeah, it's always good to have a practice sheet, or just where you have no qualms about how it's going to turn out. You're relaxed, you're playing, you're just learning the stroke. You're not thinking, oh my goodness, this is going to be in my journal and somebody's going to see it.
Can you put the other palm tree back, the one with the thick, thank you.
Sure.
He's a spider.
So let's see. So one thing, especially if you're going to work with monochromatic, you can practice painting silhouettes, and it's a great way to practice drawing in a controlled way. Palm tree silhouettes.
Showing pictures that match.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was just a mess.
Okay, so see, I just did palm tree silhouettes, and it could be any kind of silhouette, whatever. It could be dog silhouettes, palm tree silhouettes, tree silhouettes. But having something like this as a reference for you to say, okay, I'm going to see if I can create that shape with my brush. And just give yourself a chance to play with it. Some of them are more realistic than others. See, like this is probably a photograph.
Did you just Google it?
Yeah. Images.
Did the-
Palm tree images?
Well, I just went to Google and did palm tree silhouettes, and then you have the choice up there. It says all images, shopping, news, videos. And I wanted images, so that means I just want pictures. If it's not a picture,
So cool.
it won't come up. So like if I want to work on, I'll just say tree silhouettes. So if I want tree silhouettes, show me. Come on, let's see. Where's it going? It's very slow today. Here we go. And this here you go. See, here's all different types of evergreen trees. Here's clip art trees. But to me, and even the kind of trees where you might want to practice, well, it's loading. The branches. Well, it was loading. There we go. See, like something like this, where you want to just do tree branches and make them look realistic.
Huh. That's so cool.
So, but anytime you want to practice, this is an easy thing. Shelton, you're so funny. Do you want some attention?
Yes, please, Mom.
He said, "Please hold me. Love on me. I want some attention. You're too sweet. You're a good boy." Okay, so yeah, let's look at, distant land is less intense, more muted, dulled down. And that's what this would be. And higher contrast, harder edges up close. Y'all feeling better about the palm trees
Yes. Yes.
now? Okay, so now either get another sheet of paper or your journal, whatever you're working in. I'm going to get another sheet of paper. Whoops. No, I guess I won't. That paper's over here. Well, that's hers. What did I do with mine? Oh, here it is. Got too many little things going. Okay. So what would we start first with in this painting?
the sky?
Yes. Why?
Because everything else is dark and goes on top. Dark.
Very good. And that's one thing to know. I don't have to save space for this palm tree because it's darker than everything behind it. So I don't have to worry that, I need to leave a space to paint the tree and paint the land behind it, around it. I don't have to do that. So whatever sky you want, now I will show you another one while I'm on skies. So you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I'm going to show you this so I have it on a video. All right, you see this sky? Okay. With the water. I'll show you. So y'all watch. Don't paint. So, but notice what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn it sideways. The reason why I do it sideways is because I can control where my paintbrush edge is, doing it sideways a lot easier than if I try to paint this from this direction. So if I tried to paint this from this direction, I would have to be, it's just awkward. So when I paint a sky and I want cumulus clouds, I'm going to try to create a rugged type of edge that has a variety of cloud shapes. If I'm not looking at a picture, I'm going to probably make things that might resemble something I don't want it to resemble, like boobs. I've made boob clouds a lot,
Oh, my.
and it's rather funny. It's like, oh, I did not mean it for it to look like that. There was another one that I said, oh, shoot. This. Okay, so I did these clouds the same way. Okay, this was a lot more dramatic because I made the sky bluer, but it's the same process that I did this one in. I turned this way, I created the edge that I wanted. Okay, so I went along this way, let that dry because that's a hard edge, because I wanted the edge of the cloud to show. So there's times when you want a hard edge. All in here, it was wetter, so it can be a softer edge. But you can practice with your clouds and layering, and it'll come.
Is that wet into wet up above, the blue area?
The blue is.
The blue.
And then
below?
down here, see how the sky even melted into the
Yeah, that's beautiful.
so
Beautiful.
so you'll be able to see that on the video because it's being taped. And that was when Harvey was hitting Texas. And I just took a picture. So, and this was my wish for Texas, was blue skies,
Aw.
because that's where some of my family lives.
Aw.
So, okay, so this one is a lot. It's not quite the dramatic as this is because of the dark, but it's the same process. So, my paper is dry on this one. My paper is dry, so just watch. I'm going to come back and re-wet the blues that I already had here because they were already there. So I'm just going to add a little more moisture to that. I want some blue already wet, ready to use. Most of what I'm going to do right now, and my brush is almost dry. I need water. Huh. Okay, let me just fill it up real quick.
Do you want some of this?
Well, by the time I get to the sink and come back, I'm okay. Be done. I just hadn't filled up all day. So. All right. Okay, so I'm going to do this fairly quick so y'all have plenty of time to practice, because we want to do the sky and then come back and put in the palm tree. So I'm going to go ahead and do the water too. I'm going to start again up and down. It's like this because I want to do the water first and then come do the clouds. I'm going to pick a blue. Oh, thank you. I'm going to pick a blue and I'm going to turn it sideways, and I'm going to create that line coming down. So there's my water line, And I'm gonna just break it up a little bit. I want a little more blue in the very back. I don't want solid water because I'm gonna just indicate little breaks in the water to create the illusion of waves.
Did you wet it first? or
No.
not? You did not.
I did not. Okay, so that way it's only going where the water is. Okay, now I flip it around and I'm going to work on the clouds. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of my lighter blue and I'm going to just create some edges. Remember when we laid in some colors last week and then we blurred it out? That's that same kind of thing where I'm controlling the front edge of my brush where it is, and then what's behind it back here. Remember how we added water and we stretched that color where we had a hard edge? So this might be the bank of clouds.
Did you push it up again?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. And then I'm going to take where there's a dent in the cloud here and I'm going to create, whoops, that's a little darker. And I'm just going to come down and create another ridge of cloud. And then here's a little dent here, so I'm going to create another there. And it might not be as dark, and that's okay because clouds are overlapping each other. So this might be a piece that comes in up here and maybe travels along in here. And as you get closer to the horizon, you get less bumpy. Okay, because as they see, do you see what I'm talking about? When they're closer to the horizon, they're lower down, so they're not as cumulus. So
And they're paler or not really?
a lot of times they are, but it depends on what's going on in your sky. I mean, but clouds, the reason why I'm kind of shaky edge, I'm not going like this. See, because if you look really close at clouds, they have a softness to them that it's kind of a blurry out, like that term. So I'm going to add a little bit of the color that's in my water, in my sky. It's still very light. And you might add a little bit of shadowing up underneath part of the clouds in here. But then when you turn it like so,
You make it look easy.
then you
You
have
did make it look.
this cumulus kind of flow of the clouds, and some of them are softer than others because the color is not as bold, and some of them have a starker edge to it. If you want to create a little sand, then you can just get a very, very pale, I mean, it could be yellow ochre. I mean, but don't put much there if you want to indicate sand. And then I'm going to let that dry and then come back and paint my palm tree. Okay? All right, y'all turn. Your turn. Y'all's turn.
Y'all turn.
All right,
I can't talk right. Okay, so I'm going to turn this off.
paint puddles first.
Right. Start with at least 2 puddles of your blue, and you just worked with blue, so you still should have some on your palette wet. But make sure it's fairly wet. And when I did the water, I started again at the top of the sky, and by the time I got down to the water, it didn't bleed much into it. So. Looking good. We filled almost everything up. How many?
I think I need these 2 colors. I picked up that.
It does.